Amazing.
Oh my
Hey,
God, there you are.
hi,
How's it
Isabella.
going?
Welcome. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Is this Between Two Ferns? Have you ever seen
Oh,
that show?
oh, yes, I have, but I only have one snake plant, so I
Oh
Okay.
yeah, snake plant.
Beside One Snake Plant, we'll call it.
yeah.
Starring Zach
Guys,
Galifianakis and
this is my first podcast. I'm very
it,
excited.
Oh,
oh, is it
good.
really?
All
Yes.
Wow.
right.
Well, in full transparency to the listeners, I had a little bit of an in, right? So I hit you up shamelessly on Instagram and I used the old alma mater trick to sort of
Yeah, that's
see
how you gotta do it.
that's it. And
You
so
just gotta shoot.
there's so much to talk about. Of course we're going to talk about West Side Story, but we got to talk about your story first. We really we like to pride ourselves on doing research and getting to know folks a little bit, but we like to do that through the course of the conversation
Absolutely.
too. And but before we do that, Isabella, I have to ask you because it was funny. I was thinking of all the actresses and performers that we've interviewed so far. There seems to be a theme with them and their beloved pets. So you have to tell us first about, is it Rufus?
His name is Rufus. He is just like the love of my life.
Yeah.
Um, we got him during the pandemic, and actually, like, kind of, I wasn't planning to get a dog. We weren't planning to get a dog, and my boyfriend's sister rescued him like a week before lockdown happened.
Oh,
And then
wow.
2 days into him being rescued, he broke his leg.
Oh,
And I know, he was, like, 3 months old, and he was, like, addicted to Xanax for 7 weeks because he couldn't run around on his leg, and
living the.
we all ended up quarantining together, and, like, because the incident happened with his sister, he, like, no longer, I think, felt safe next with her,
Oh,
and then he
Wow.
just, like, took a really big liking to my boyfriend and I, and then he was our dog.
oh, that's
Wow.
funny.
Now, are
I-
you still not getting anything done? Because
Oh,
I
never
know,
get anything done.
right, with that face staring at you.
At me all the time. I'm like, I would rather just stare at you than do anything.
It's
Yeah.
so cute. So it's a Rhodesian Ridgeback, right?
We think he's
Okay.
definitely a mutt,
Okay.
but like shepherd mix, Rhodesian, maybe a little pit bull in there. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
He's soft.
How did he? I had a dog way back when I was 20, I think. And
Wait.
he's,
Tell Isabella the originality of the name of your dog.
well, I couldn't think of a name, and I kept calling him, "Come here, little pup. Come here, little pup." And it just stuck. His name became Pup, which is so stupid.
I love that.
But he, we're in Boston. I'm in Boston. Dan's in Florida. But he slipped on the ice, and that's how he broke his leg.
Oh,
And
no.
they put a cast on him. I don't know if they put a cast on
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Yeah, and he kept chewing it off.
They were like, he can't run on it. He like has to stay off the leg. So we're giving him Xanax so he doesn't have energy.
My God.
The Xanax
That's
did
funny.
not control his energy at all. He was still running around in circles in the backyard, wrestling with like other dogs that were around. He's an Energizer bunny.
Oh, that's great. What
So
timing?
so sweet. So now tell us, where were you born and raised?
So I was born in Barberton, Ohio.
Oh,
I
okay.
was
Ah.
raised in Florida because that was like the midway point for Ohio for my dad, and then Puerto Rico for my mom.
Okay.
And then my mom is Puerto Rican, and like most of my cousins and all of really my family are from my Puerto Rican side because my dad had brothers, but they never had children. My grandmother on his side died before I was born. So
Mm.
most of my extended family to me is simply Puerto Rican. And my parents would send my sister and I there every summer to live with my grandparents. So we would speak the language and be integrated in the culture and stuff like that. So I've always kind of felt like all over the place. I've never been like raised in one place. I feel like
Yeah.
I've attached to a lot of different cultures.
How old
Do
were you when you came to Florida?
I was like 2, 3 years old.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
really young.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
do you still have family in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, so most of my family lives in Puerto Rico. There's like a few cousins who grew up in Puerto Rico and then like they studied in the States and settled down in the States and stuff like that. But my grandparents, my aunt, my uncle, like all of my immediate families in Puerto Rico. My mom and my dad are in Florida though.
So how did they come through that terrible storm?
Yeah, so I actually got the last flight out for Hurricane Maria.
Wow.
I was like visiting my family in Puerto Rico and I had to get back to New York for rehearsals for a show I was doing. And I was like, I need to get out of here before the storm happens. And I got the last flight out. I mean, this happened for 2017. So like 4 years. Am I doing math right? Yeah. 4 years ago now. And people are still, it just depends where you're located, but people are still dealing with the aftermath of all of it.
It was so bungled by the government here. It was just, you know, we saw the pictures and the devastation.
And Trump just like throwing toilet paper at people.
Oh, man.
This will help you. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, just even things like my grandparents, you know, come from very, very humble beginnings. And like one of the most treasured part of their house isn't necessarily their house. It's all of the grapefruit trees and avocado trees and stuff like that that were in their backyard. And almost all of them were torn down and destroyed.
Wow. That's awful.
And in their older age, there's only so much they can reconstruct and rebuild. And unless like one of us has the time and the money and the funds and all those things to go down there and really, really do it. So a lot of things for most people just kind of stay how they were left, which is unfortunate, but hopefully things will change.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful place. And the way, like, again, the way Trump handled things, it was just a nightmare, lying about how much money was sent and the whole thing.
I know. But also then like the money that was sent, like the government there in Puerto Rico was also corrupt at the time. And
didn't get to where it needed to go. Yeah. Exactly. It's funny, all the years that we've lived here collectively in Florida, never been to Puerto Rico.
It's so close, so you have to go.
I know, I know. It's on the list. Do you get back often? Like, have you been there recently?
Yeah, I went in September for about 2 weeks. I finally got to introduce my boyfriend to my grandmother, and
oh, that's big.
You're not official until you've met my abuela. Like, the seal of approval. So,
and that went well, we assume.
Yes, absolutely. She can't like speak much English, but she would give him hugs and just feed him food constantly. So you know we're good.
So how did you get to Rollins? Like the connection we all have.
That was mind-blowing because Isabella, of course, I saw that article that came out in the magazine from Rollins.
It's been a long journey. So I grew up as a classical ballet dancer, and for school, I wanted to study ballet. And I before, for most of performing arts stuff, if you want to go to college for it, you do a series of auditions. It's like January through March or April that year before you go to college. And it's just going to the different schools and auditioning and visiting. And I auditioned for like 10 colleges, 9 of them for ballet. And the only one I auditioned for like theater was Rollins. And I got into most of the schools that I had wanted to for dance, but I didn't get any scholarships, which like I got into Tisch, but it's $60,000 with no scholarship. Like, how's this ever going to happen? Not going to happen. And my whole life, like as much as I loved dancing, I loved being a storyteller, and I always wanted to be an actress, but my mom was like, I don't know how to get you into acting, but like stick with your dancing. And I don't know, I just kind of took it as a sign. I got a scholarship for theater for Rollins. I got the Priscilla scholarship, and I was like, well, Orlando Ballet is just down the street. Like I can do everything. Everything's fine. And my parents really were pushing for me to also get that safety net major. So I majored in small business.
International business, yeah.
I minored in theater when I wanted to major, but the same with you. It's like I was going to go to law school anyway, so it didn't really matter. Although the performing and
I was gonna
it makes a
say
difference.
lost theatrical.
It
Yeah, right.
very, and people don't realize it.
Yeah.
So
So
Yeah.
you must
So
have performed at the Annie
Annie
Russell Theater
Russell.
there?
yes, I
Wow.
did. I mean, because when you're on the Priscilla Parker Scholarship, like even if you're not cast in it, you have to work the show. So I worked
Yeah.
every show while I was while I was there. So definitely a busy schedule. And because of that, because of managing my scholarship with the theater department, being a double major with international business, and then trying to dance at Orlando Ballet all at the same time and have a social life, I ended up
Yeah.
injured, just like my body totally shut down.
Wow.
Ah,
I tore the ligament in my ankle in 3 different spots, and it was like no more dancing, done.
wow.
And so I just used that opportunity to focus on acting. And there's a huge improv community at Rollins. I don't know if it was that big when you guys were there, but Dr. Charles, David Charles, he's amazing
Mm.
and really spearheaded that. And I also found a voice teacher in the music department that became my mentor, life mentor. So that's kind of what transitioned me really into musical theater. Yeah.
So do you feel the connection? Like Dan's a little different than me. I feel this really connection to Rollins. Dan's a
Yeah,
little like not as much.
I I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sounds like you're more like him.
I think I got a lot out of my experience there, but I graduated early. I wanted to leave as quickly as I could, not because of Rollins, but because
Mhm.
I just knew I wanted more, and like I was ready for more and to keep going.
Sure.
Um, and so I decided to leave Rollins a year early so that I could go get my master's. And in my head, I was like, oh, it's a year master program. That'll be like what my 4th year of my undergrad would have been. And I'm not losing time. Because I think like in this industry, now I don't have this opinion, but at the time you think I'm on a clock. Like I can only be dancing for so long. I'm only young for so long as an actress. Like you have this
Yeah.
time in you, which doesn't exist in a suit, like stupid. But at the time I
Right.
was like, I want to get out into the real world as quickly as possible.
So you were super focused. You knew what you were going to
Driven.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've always known that I wanted to be a performer. It's just always been like, what medium am I choosing at what time? Whether it's singing or dancing or acting, I always still wanted to be telling stories no matter what. So,
I love that on your site. I think it's on your website,
yeah.
IsabellaWard.com, where it says you like telling stories through movement.
Yeah. So I used to be like, especially coming from the ballet world, you can get so trapped in like what your body looks like and your technique and how pointed your foot is. And I truly used to like have my self-worth based on like how pretty my pointed toe was, which is also another ridiculous thought.
Yeah.
But once you can kind of release that, it's really like, what can your body tell? And I think in acting, well, I found this in improv when I first started improv, because I came from a dancing world. Speaking was very difficult for me. Like just being vocally assertive was very difficult for me.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And my improv teacher, David Charles at Rollins, was like, when you go into a scene, start physically. You're a dancer, you understand your body, and that's how you can connect first. So whether that's like you're slumping your shoulders and now you have a character physical choice, or you're playing tennis in the scene with your sister and all of a sudden you have your conversation there. So that was really helpful for me to know that like I can still use my body to tell a story and jump into a character, since
Mhm.
vocally, especially starting out, I was insecure.
Which
Yeah.
I think everybody in the beginning, I did a lot of plays, and the one I said this to Danny before we started. The one audition that I didn't get cast in was at the Annie Russell. It was to play Bus Stop, which Marilyn Monroe did in a movie, and
Oh, so fun.
I thought I nailed it, and then I go to see the list and I'm like, but I know the mistake I made is I didn't have a lot of time. Like you, I had a lot of things going and I was busy, and I wrote, and I wish I never checked the box, but I checked the box, lead only. which is so arrogant, you know. Yeah, I'll do your play, but only if I can be the lead
The lead, yeah.
performer. Yeah.
I
Now,
know.
go ahead,
What were you
Isabel.
saying?
No, I was going to say, because Mike also did some stand-up comedy at one
Yeah.
point, and you did some work with sax in Orlando too.
So I kind of so David Charles is like the head of sax improv in Orlando, and all of our classes that we do at Rollins are equivalent to the sax classes that he teaches.
Ah.
So because people aren't going to really understand that like Rollins Improv Club and like what I actually learned and did there, I try to translate it to all the classes that were at sax because those are correlated. So maybe I should change that on my website. But also it's the exact same stuff. So it's the same curriculum.
So what was the first play, like real play you did? You know, what was your first like, oh my God, they cast
ever?
me? Yeah. Like going back, is it going way back when you were really young or?
Okay, I did a production of As You Like It, Shakespeare,
Right.
in high school. And it was like not done traditionally. It was like we were the Breakfast Club sitting in a classroom and we find a Shakespeare book and all of a sudden we're performing Shakespeare. It was the most tragic play ever. I mean, ever. But I had so much fun.
But it was fun.
Like the poor audience, all of us like trying to speak Shakespearean, not knowing anything, like can't even remember our lines. But I had such a fun experience, and the community feel that you get when you're doing theater with people, and just the energy and the camaraderie, like that's what really made me fall in love with theater, and like feeling safe all the time, which is really nice because high school wasn't necessarily like the best time in the world.
Yeah, for any of us, I
Now,
guess.
is there performance in your family? Is some of that come from influences in your family or?
Not really. My mom is very artistic. She was an artistic director for a record company for 20 years, all classical and jazz music. My mom was always in love with, ballet dancers and stuff. So I think she put me in that. But the passion and the dream was really from my own self. And my grandfather, my abuela on my mom's side, he was also very artistic, but not necessarily musical theater or theater driven. So yeah.
So you go from Rollins to Scotland?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went and got my master's at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, and they had a musical theater performance track, and it was a year-long master's program, which was great. You worked through the summer, so it was like a full complete year.
Okay.
But yeah, it brought me to Scotland. It was weird. I did 2 summers in my undergrad studying opera in Germany, and my German linguistics teacher there was the German linguistics teacher for the opera students at the conservatoire in Scotland. So that's kind of how I found out about the school. And there's actually no musical theater master's program in the States, if you can believe that. There is only like vocal performance or theater or acting, but there's no musical theater master's program. And they're all in Europe. And so I was between that and a school in Germany, but the school in Germany was 3 years. And I was like, I can't do that.
You want to hurry up and get out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one of the best years of my life.
Really, I can imagine.
Yeah, it was just so concentrated. I only got to focus on studying what I wanted to study. And I felt very connected to a lot of my classmates. And that was the first time in schooling that I felt like, I don't know, really like I found like my best friends and my classmates, which was really fun for me because I hadn't experienced that before. So.
And that goes back to the Rollins because, we don't come from wealth and we still haven't got there.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of wealthy people and wealthy kids.
And I was there on scholarships. And
we were too.
Exactly. It's hard because it's nothing against anybody that's wealthy, but sometimes it does get to a point where you're like, I literally just can't afford to be your friend because I can't do
Right.
what you're doing.
Right.
Right.
I
And all my
remember.
voice lessons.
Yeah. And I remember you know, I went to Japan with Rollins, and it was me and 8 girls.
Oh
No
my
other
God.
guys.
You're so
Which,
lucky.
yeah, good for me. But we were on the plane, you know, it's like a 20-hour flight. And we were on the plane and we were playing cards or something, and they were all talking about their future husbands,
Yeah.
that they would have to be wealthy. And I'm like, so I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't make the cut. And they you know, they weren't being funny. They were like, no, you would make the cut.
No, you just wouldn't. No, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that sometimes it's just like there's just a difference, and like that's okay. It is what it is. But yeah, sometimes it's just hard to keep up. So when you can't like financially or socially keep up with somebody, you turn to your studies and you just put all of your energy there.
Yeah.
So even though like I did feel that way at Rollins, like you, like I was like, oh my God, I can't go out to dinner every single night.
Right.
Down Park Avenue.
Right.
I know.
I'm gonna spend my time at the theater.
And it's even more gorgeous now. It's like they've got big
So
gates and
beautiful.
wow.
Yeah.
I know. I'm kind of upset. I left the year before they put in like a bar in the center of campus. I'm like,
Oh,
come on,
really?
come on.
Wow.
I could have used an Aperol spritz at the pool.
Yeah.
So what year is it you finish up in Scotland? Was that like
I'm
2016?
2016.
2016? Yeah.
Yeah, and I like stayed a few more months after I graduated, and then I moved to New York City right after. So I moved not knowing a soul in New York. I didn't have a job lined up. I just like blindly moved there.
So how do you okay, so that's interesting, right? So how do you make that
Yeah, like how do you find an
how do you make that
agent?
work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just so much of my life experience like truly has just been like preparation meeting opportunity.
Mhm.
And so when I first moved, the apartment that I was staying at was a block above from this yoga studio, and I've done yoga my whole life and I've always wanted to get certified, and they were starting a yoga teacher's training like the next day. So I was like, okay, I'm going to sign up and I'm going to do this yoga teacher's training. And that will give me a sense of community, a sense of purpose for the moment, you know, for just being there. And it was a month long and it wasn't audition season yet. So that's kind of where I like put my energy in when I first moved. And then that also gave me some time to figure out like what's my side hustle going to be and how do auditions work in New York City and all of those things.
Love that.
We love a side hustle.
Yeah, love that.
You're gonna always need them.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, I got really lucky when I moved to New York. I booked the first thing I auditioned for,
Wow.
which is kind of insane. It was like a few months into me being there, and then the audition process was 2 or 3 months. But within 6 months of me first moving, I was already booked on a tour, and I left to go tour, which was really fun.
Great. That's
Yeah.
great.
Pretty wild.
So now you're on the West Coast, right? In LA.
Yes.
How do you know, because I lived in San Diego for like 30 years. So I have a big distinction between both sides. What do you like better? Very different. Very different.
This is such a hard question. I feel like I get asked it all the time. New York or LA, New York or LA. They're totally different cities. I don't even know if you can compare them. Like New York is a city. LA is a string of suburbs. Just
sprawling.
Together. Yeah, exactly. There's good New York. I always dreamed about moving to New York City. That was like my life dream. So New York has such a special place in my heart, and the goal is to be bi-coastal anyways. But I know I'm meant to be in LA, and for the time that I was in New York, I was hustling so hard and like not sleeping and definitely not healthy. And so this time to kind of slow down just a little bit. has been very nice. I moved during the pandemic, so it's kind of that's also a wild
Wow,
trans.
yeah.
Wow.
Must have been really
But I was
rough.
also like in and out of New York a lot. So I was there for 5.5-ish years, but I was touring for 2 years and I would come in and out. And then like, so I've never felt fully done with New York. So I know I'll still
Sure.
might go back. Who knows?
Sure. So
Yeah.
you got to tell us how you get,
Yeah, where do the seeds
I
start
mean,
getting
yeah,
planted for
getting
this
to
West Side
West Side
Story
Story.
gig? Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So, okay, so when I moved to New York, I booked the Broadway National Tour Cinderella, and I did
Right.
that for 2 years, 2-ish years, year and a half, I don't know. And towards the end of the tour, the first like cast listing they were looking for Maria and like Anita and Chino and all of the lead sharks. And I knew that typecast wise, I wasn't good for Maria or Anita, but I just started submitting because I was like, you never know, they're going to need an ensemble. And like, and nothing came from those tapes. I think that was more for letting the universe know that like, this is something I'm interested in and want. And then September of 2018 was the first open call audition in New York. And open call auditions are so rough. You got to wake up early. You got to stand in line. The line started at like 3 a.m. I think I got there at like 4:30. So I was pretty far back in the line.
Yeah.
It was raining in Brooklyn. We're all standing outside. There's nowhere to cover over, but you don't want to get out of line. And then the boys go first. So they take up the whole morning. So the girls didn't really get seen till like 3 p.m. So we're all tired, like how, like just trying to like do our best. And like my audition didn't go that great. It had like a girl, like when you dance and you're like in say 4 people are going at the same time, you have a window, you have your own window, and then you got to move together, right? Like this.
Right.
And the girl in front of me just kept wanting to like kind of cover me up. And she was getting super, super, super close. And then there was like this fan kick moment. She hit me in the face with her leg. Like it was not a cute situation. I don't even know if like the people watching even noticed what happened. I just think they were like, it didn't fit, nothing fazed them. So I didn't get called back. Totally fine, whatever, life happens. And then my family was like, well, they're hosting auditions in Puerto Rico. You should go down. And the place that they were doing the auditions is like 5 minutes from my aunt's house. So I was able to stay with her. I decided to fly down. And of course, in New York City, 4,000 people show up to an open call. In Puerto Rico, 120 people show up to an open call.
A lot more manageable.
Yeah, exactly. And instantly, like I stood out like a sore thumb. And so I spent like 4 days of callbacks down in Puerto Rico. And then on my flight back from Puerto Rico to New York, I just so happened to be sitting next to the choreographer, Justin Peck, on the flight.
Wow.
And so I go like, oh, the universe is letting me know like I'm in the right place, right time. And then of course, like he's sitting there and then I'm just going to watch a movie. And I turn on the TV of the airplane, and the first movie that comes up is like the old West Side Story movie. And I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, turn this off. Like, what is happening? I'm freaked out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's kind of where like how the audition process started. And then it was about from the time like I sent in my first video and started like letting the world know I wanted this to the day that I found out was about 1.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So
and probably took that long because of the pandemic, right? No, they had just opened, you said.
Yeah, so
auditions.
This was in 2018. We filmed in 2019 before.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And then it was supposed to come out 2020, but because of the pandemic, they held it off, and then it came out 2021.
Did they release it didn't it release the same day as like Batman or something? I thought it was a terrible release.
It released the week before Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
The week before, yeah.
People were like, oh, we want to go to the theaters, but we don't want to risk COVID. So we're like, choose your movie wisely, like everyone's
right.
like, Spider-Man. So yeah.
Which
But
we thought was an okay movie, by the way. It wasn't great.
honestly, I haven't seen it yet. So
Yeah. Don't
rush out.
don't waste your 3 hours.
Oh no, really?
Yeah,
I
but
love Zendaya.
she's great, but it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah. I
But
really like the new Batman though.
yeah,
Yes.
now you're with Dan.
Yeah, you're on my
Um,
side again. Well, it's interesting because I saw the some teaser trailer for West Side Story. I was in the theater and I remember seeing it. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know it was being done.
Yeah.
Right.
And
It was
I was blown away by it.
it was super kind of under covers. Even like when we were filming, I know Steven like didn't want us posting on social media about it. Like he really wanted
Mm.
it kind of to be a secret. Not that we could really stay that much a secret because we filmed outdoors on location, took over all of Harlem. Like,
Right.
so many of my
know.
friends, we were like filming in front of their apartments and they're just like videoing us from their bedroom, being like, that's my friend down there. So that's pretty cool. So,
That's amazing. And I said to Mike, I remember telling him, "Hey, Spielberg's doing this adaptation of West Side Story, and it looks incredible." And then fast forward to it coming out, and it was funny because we did an episode on it, but we were also talking about, at first we were like, do we need this? Do we need another West? And then you see it,
Right.
and you're like, yeah,
we
absolutely.
need
It's a masterpiece. It really
yeah,
is.
it's so beautiful.
Yeah, we were in the same room. We saw the trailer, and we were like, "This looks really good." But I mean, it's such a classic. I have it right behind me. I have both. I have yours, and the original is in
Oh, I
there.
love it.
And within 5 minutes of sitting and watching, we were like, "Wow!"
Yeah.
I mean, it just came right at you, and the
It's so good.
choreography is fantastic.
I always say like the lead role for me in the Stevens version is the cinematography. Janusz does an amazing job, and like it's just so beautiful to watch. Like I couldn't stop thinking about how beautiful it was to watch it.
Yeah.
Watching it.
Colors, and it was just, and then to get to work with Rita Moreno must have been awesome.
Yeah, she was great. She'd come on set and like tell us all of her stories and like her love affair with Marlon Brando. And I'm like, what? And all like the dirty deeds,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And she's so, she's classic Hollywood.
Yeah. She's old school Hollywood, and just to be like vaguely in her presence and like vaguely get to know her and stuff like that, it's more inspiring than anything. And yeah, it feels weird when you get to rub shoulders around people you hold so like in such high esteem, but like kind of unattainable to be around. Like you grew up thinking like, I don't know, they're like these third world people.
Yeah.
Right.
Like from another galaxy. And then all of a sudden you get to, and you're like, oh, they're just people that eat and shit and sleep just the way that I do.
Right.
And so much of this industry is just like perspective on people and perception of people. And once you realize that like you can kind of create that for yourself, I don't know, it seems more attainable to achieve.
It's got to be interesting to navigate because, I'm thinking about what we were talking about earlier with Rollins, and, we grew up blue collar. And so that, college at one point really wasn't even in the picture. It wasn't really even talked about. But then you find yourself somewhere like that. It's an affluent private college and all of that. You feel somewhat like a fish out of water. And then all of a sudden you're thrust into this world through this film. And then if anybody who follows you on social, particularly, on Instagram, I mean, you've been all over the place, first of all, the Vanity Fair and this and that, and it's so glamorous. So, but I wonder, is it, like you said, perception? I'm sure there's a mix, right? I'm sure there's the real and there's the not so authentic that goes on, and you just have to figure out how to swim in that water.
Yeah, I mean, I think from those events, from an outsider's point of view, they're so glamorous. You get to dress out, all this stuff. But truly, when you're in the industry, they're a business networking event.
Right.
And it's a lot of work. The red carpet looks aren't just getting dressed and looking cute. You want to make sure the stylist's vision is being put on the red carpet, and the hair and makeup person's vision is being put onto the red carpet, and your vision, and also what the event is, and like making sure that you're in the right dressing zone for it or whatever. It's a lot of hard work, and it was a lot of fun getting to explore my creativity through style, which was really awesome. And also a chance to let the world know that I'm here and I'm ready to work and I'm ready for this challenge and this lifestyle. But it's definitely a lot more work than it is just like getting dressed and going to a party.
Yeah.
And like my first event, I was like, who am I to be here?
Yeah, the imposter syndrome.
Oh my gosh. And I'm the queen of having imposter syndrome. Like it just like I can't seem to shake it. But I was getting at a fitting, and I met another very well-known established actress, and she just told me, she's like, the imposter syndrome doesn't go away. We all have it. And once she kind of told me that, I was like, okay. And towards the end of the award season and the events that I was going to, like, I truly felt like I belonged there. And that was a good sign for me. I'm like, more prosperity will come as long as like I believe that I'm meant to be there. And I did find it funny, I have been I post one Getty image online and there is no difference of me as a human being, as an actress, as anything from the day before that photo was taken and the day after that photo was taken. But all of a sudden people start to view you differently, and you're just like, great. I love that you're taking me seriously now, but also I'm the same person.
Right.
But knowing that's part of the business, how do you not get consumed with it? How do you guard against not losing yourself in that? It's got to be hard.
I guess it's hard. I mean, I'm still at the place where like I still have side hustles. I still teach fitness. I still, have to have another realm of income before I land something big that puts me in the forefront. So I think that's what keeps me humble.
Yeah, you're grounded. Yeah.
I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I was on a red carpet one night, and the next day I was working front desk at my yoga studio, cleaning up after people and stuff like that. So at least in my experience, like I feel, because my transition into the life that I want to live wasn't like overnight, it is a very gradual process for me. And I know what it's like to have one foot in one door and one foot in the other door. I hope that like that will always, I know that will always continue on, because COVID also taught us like you can be in one place and it can be taken away from you very quickly. And I'm very aware of that. So
can you say hello to my girlfriend, Oksana?
Yes. Hi, Oksana.
Because she's going to love this, because she could be a yogi. I mean, she's so into it. She's so into fitness. So I was curious when I saw that on your Instagram too. Like that's obviously something that is very important to you, certainly in the work that you do. But can you just talk a little bit more about that? Then we got to circle back to West Side Story, because I have some other questions.
Absolutely. Well, I come from a dance background, so I realized like getting to a dance class in New York City, like the way that you grow up going to a dance class 6 hours a day when you're a kid, like that's not going to happen. Also, it's very expensive. And I also, when I first started, having side hustles in New York, I was working as a bartender, and which was super fun, but really not conducive to the work that I actually wanted to do. I was hustling so hard on the weekend, bartending to make money, that I had no energy during the week to go to auditions or to go to a dance class or anything like that. And I just knew I had to find something different. And then I was, going through a little heartbreak moment, and I found F45 and started training in the gym, lifting weights. And once I found physical strength, I was able to find emotional strength. And again, that's my perspective of like, I connect to my physical body first than I do to my emotional body. And it's just easier for me that way. And yeah, that's kind of how my journey with the fitness world started. And with the yoga world, it was my time in New York. And with yoga, the practice of meditation and breath and all of that, in acting, there's so much need to hold space for yourself and to take space for yourself.
Mhm.
And if you're not confident, it's very hard to do. You can get manic. I can get manic, and you shuffle around and you feel crazy. But the more you can practice like being present and being still, the more power you're going to have as a performer, whether it's acting or dancing or something like that. So.
I love this because Mike is he's trying very hard not to fall asleep right now because I'm so tuned into you because I meditate every day and I get all of this from my girlfriend. She was kind of the inspiration for that, but I use Headspace from a meditation and things like that. Did you say F45? Is that what you mentioned?
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's a HIIT training gym.
right. I
over.
was thinking about joining that. Would you recommend that?
Oh my, it's great. It's a quick
Oh,
45-minute workout. You hit
Yeah.
every single body part that you want, that you want to be hitting. It's mostly full body almost every day that you go, and every day is a different exercise. And yeah, it's great. I really love F45. I've worked there on and off for the last 5-6 years. So
All of a sudden it's become a commercial. It's a side hustle. It's a commercial for F45. So let's go back to West Side Story because, you know, when I saw that article and that just beautiful photo of you, you know, on the street, which I guess was during the America
yeah, that was during
sequence.
the like last part of the American.
And do you know this now? I'm a digital media collector, whereas you can see Mike is more in the physical realm.
Yeah.
And I was just because we both own both West Side Story films. Are you aware? I'm assuming you must be that on the digital, and Mike, I'm sure it's on your copy, but there's a wonderful like hour-long documentary. You're in it. Did you know that?
I know.
Yeah. Well, and you know, because it's all with the making of and this and
Yeah.
that, but there's a lot of sequences of you where you're in there.
Yeah.
With Steven and Rita and everybody. It's really, really nicely done.
I knew that they were like making a documentary, but I haven't seen anything.
You got to check it out. It's so cool. And there's a shot where I think you guys are finishing the America sequence or something, and there's this big celebration, right? You're like right there with Steven Spielberg, and he's just like a kid dancing around. I don't know what you guys were chanting, but it was just so fun looking.
We had this like shark dance for the sharks, but like to the Jaws theme song. So it was like da 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 pop boom ba da da. Like,
that's it.
Break down, yeah. And we would just do that all the time. So if we got a shot, like Steven would love to just like start it, and it's like the Jaws theme song playing off of Jaws, you know him, and then us being sharks. So yeah, he don't mean to toot our own horns, but he would always say that like this was one of the best sets he's loved to work on. And normally like directors don't, you know, you film something and they're checking the gate. They don't want the actors to come and see what we just did.
Right.
Every single time we got something, he'd be like calling us under the tent to watch and like
to check it out.
So many people were like, we've worked so many sets with him and we've never seen him this happy, which was really fun.
Yeah, that comes through in all of the interviews, and you can just tell he's just having a ball.
And when the movie ends, the first thing that comes up before any of the credits is it says for Dad.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming his dad was
passed away.
Yeah, and was a big fan of, I don't know if it was just that time or he was a big fan of the film or
I don't know too much about his father, but I know he passed it was either during or just right after filming. So
yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, which is tough. So
yeah,
you know, you realize with the film too, you know, sadly I suppose in a way, but how topical and timely it still is.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, until things change, I feel like it's always going to be very, very on topic and relevant. I think it was harder for like a younger generation to connect with it solely in the sense of like the music is so dated. And I feel like kids would rather watch Euphoria.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Although
But
it's such a great soundtrack.
I mean,
Everybody knows every song.
every song, it's so beautiful. But I'm like, am I just saying that because like I grew up in musical theater and like this West Side Story was still like the only like true, I feel like West Side Story is the true like mix of having dance at the forefront, having opera singing at the forefront, having a classical belt at the forefront, having an ensemble at the forefront, having lead like so many different things, so many different mediums meshed together into one theatrical experience. Whereas a lot of musical theater productions, you don't get all of that. You get maybe one or
Right.
two, or you know what I mean, but you don't get the full combination of a musical theater experience.
Yeah, it was it blew us away. Now, I don't think it didn't have a big night at the Oscars, right? I don't know.
It didn't, but I honestly, Ariana won, and like that's
Right.
as good as it gets. Like
That
That
was
was
amazing.
huge.
she's
I
such
mean,
a powerhouse, and her story is so insane. And like she comes from being an ensemble girl, and to me that's what's really inspiring, because that's me so far. Like I've worked mostly in the ensemble of things, and like the fact that you can go from that and transition to winning an Oscar
I
Amazing.
know.
the dopest thing in the world.
Amazing.
In
I
the
mean-
mirror of the original, it was just perfect. But you know, we were kind of like, where's cinematography? We
Yeah.
thought it was going to do a lot
Directing,
more.
yeah.
I agree, but you know, I'm also biased.
Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
as you should be. It's the work that you all do as dancers. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's breathtaking to watch. It's
Yeah.
phenomenal. If there was something I could say that if I could have that ability tomorrow, you know, it's really inspiring to
If you could have
watch.
one of those abilities tomorrow.
If I could have, yeah, just any ability, quite frankly, would be good.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
It's a wonderful film. Yep, it is.
Yeah.
And you've got to do
It's-
something about the master's degree program in the States. Like maybe that's something you can bring to
I
another
know,
side hustle.
start another side hustle. I'm
Yeah.
like, please, just like I just need to book an acting job right now.
Well,
Yeah, is that
yeah.
what's we were going to ask what's you know, what are you looking at now? Is you know,
Yeah.
is there anything?
Like I feel fulfilled in my life as a dancer. Like I feel like doing West Side Story, like that is the highest I could probably get.
Yeah.
And kind of going back to like I've always wanted to be an actress, and I told myself if I booked West Side Story, that would be my perfect transition from being a dancer in musical theater to the TV and film world and stuff like that. And I've always studied acting. It's just, I always booked work as a dancer. It was easier for me to book work as a dancer first. And I'm so glad that I've done it. But I am ready for new challenges. And I am working on a new series right now, which is exciting.
Is that Parallel?
Yeah, that's Parallel by C6 Studios. And so we're packaging 6 episodes to distribute. And it's so fun. It's a comedy. I love it. It's like Community vibes, but with time travel. It's a really great time. And our entire team is amazing.
Does
so
it
I'm
have a
working on-
home yet, or are you shopping it right now?
Well, so we're going to first finish filming the first 6 episodes, and then we'll be shopping it around. We'll have like a
Okay.
premiere where we invite distributors like a Netflix or Hulu to come and see
Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
And podcasters, of course.
And podcasters,
Sure
yeah.
those invitations get out. Yeah, of course.
And yeah, so that's exciting on the horizon. We already finished our pilot. So we start shooting episode 2 at the end of the month. And yeah, so working on that and just auditioning, continue to hustle. I also like write music, and I eventually want to do something with that. So we'll see. Anything's
Oh. Well,
Yeah.
the universe is listening, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say like my through line of just my career and my life was like, I have literally spoken things into existence. It's insane.
Yeah.
You gotta
Even with
manifest it.
I for Cinderella, this was way before I was into musical theater, and I was just a ballet dancer. And Cinderella opened on Broadway in 2009, and that was the first time I ever watched the Tony Awards. And I watched the Tony Awards, Cinderella performed, and I just go, I can do that. And then I moved to New York City. My first audition was Cinderella, and that was the first thing I booked.
That's great.
It's kind of wild.
You gotta love it.
Yeah,
you
you
need
keep that
confidence.
focus. Yeah, it's great. Well,
Yeah.
we look forward to seeing you, and
Yeah,
hopefully you'll
and
come
where
back and talk to us when you're rich and famous,
Yeah.
and we
I'll
can't
try
hang with you anymore.
when
No,
you've got a chain of yoga studios, competing with F45 across the country.
exactly. Watch out.
Where and plug where folks can look you up.
Oh yeah, you can find me on Instagram. My handle is just my name, Isabella Ward. I have a Facebook, don't really use it, so don't worry about it. I also have a TikTok, don't really use it, so don't worry
Oh.
about it.
Well,
I'm
and
kind
you've
of
got
like an
your
Instagram.
website.
Oh yeah, and my website, which is isabellaward.com.
Yeah. But yeah, you're very active on Instagram for sure.
I try to be. It's like another business. You
Right.
have to
Yeah.
stay active on it.
True.
So I'm trying to build that following little by little, and hopefully people enjoy my page and what's going on there.
Oh, it's great. It's great. And when is Rufus going to get his own page?
Okay, I'm not. His father does not allow me to make him an Instagram.
Oh, really?
So my Instagram is his Instagram. It's
Doesn't his father have his own Instagram as well?
he does, but he doesn't use it.
He
at
doesn't
all.
use it. Yeah.
At
Yeah.
all. I like post so much stuff and I like tag him in it, and he's never
That-
just not. He has no idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for the podcast. I'm not a huge fan of it, but like you said, it's part of the work. You got to do it.
Exactly.
So before we let you go, I have to ask you, for those that don't know, so Rollins College has this tradition, right, of Fox Day, where they sort of surprise the campus and announce that classes are canceled for that day, right? So what has been, you had to have celebrated Fox Day.
Oh yeah.
So what's the most exciting Fox Day moment you can share with us on the Oh Brother podcast?
I don't know if I can share this stuff.
Sure you can. We'll edit it out if we need to. That's fine. Nobody's listening anyways.
It was definitely the first time I ever took like tequila shots at 5 a.m.
Wow. And you
And
just
not
had
layover from the night before. It's like, wake up. I was in a sorority, so all the sorority sisters are like, let's go. And
but you already had a stash then.
maybe.
There might have been some Patron like within the dorm.
Maybe.
Okay,
Like you
awesome.
definitely, like the month of March and April, you're stocked up. You're ready to go in case the moment calls.
Yeah, and they get I know when I was there, it gets to, I was on the committee, so I found out like a day before because if you're on, I worked in human resources, and I knew you wouldn't know the name of the president then, but so some of us got the word early that morning,
That's
and we had to set stuff up and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And you're like, I gotta set up.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I mean, and everybody's going to the beach.
I know. We went to the beach, but I will say, because of being a theater student, we were always rehearsing for a show. So I still had rehearsals because technically Fox Day ends at like 5 p.m., 6 p.m.
Right.
So we would still have rehearsals, and I would show up like, hello.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I'm okay.
I didn't die, so we're doing well.
that hustle never stops. Yeah.
Never.
Isabella, thank you so much. First of all, congrats on all your success, obviously, with West Side Story. It's a phenomenal film. Enjoyed seeing you in it. Check out the documentary so you can see yourself in
I
it.
know.
Definitely.
I feel like some of that stuff I'm like so like not West Side Storied out, but I'm just like I experienced it, so like I don't
Right.
watch it, but I think it'd be cool. I need to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really, really
be
great.
fun.
And we just appreciate you being gracious with your time to come on. And if you're on campus anytime soon, let me know, and we'll
course.
we'll
Yeah.
have some tequila shots.
I'm trying to come back in like June or something like that.
Oh, nice.
yeah, my family, lives like 45 minutes away, and
Yeah.
I love eating at Prado on Park Ave
Oh
because now I
yeah.
Wow.
can afford to eat there. So,
Right.
so yeah, we'll have to link up in person.
Absolutely. All right. We'll have to have you back on the show as well. So we'll keep following you, and congrats and all the best to you.
Thanks, guys. Have a
All
beautiful
right.
day.
All right,
Right.
Isabella.
Fiat Lux.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.